on page 580 in the Sikha, Seif Tezayin. This is the last ice of a very lengthy Sikha that we were learning here. The Sikha discusses various different chidushim in Torah that will occur Lasad Lavai. The Sikha began with the Chiddush Lasad Lavai regarding the halachas of Shechita. One of the basic halachas regarding Shechita is that you have to use a sharp knife, not serrated, no pagam, in order for the Shechita to be kosher. Lasad Lavai, the Levyasan, the fins of the Levyasan will be used to shech the Sherabar. In the last sif that we learned last week, the Rebbe said the Eibishter himself is going to be the Sheikhet. The Eibishter himself is going to hold on to the Levyasan and use the Levyasan to shech the Sherabar. Another chiddush that Rebbe spoke about in the Sikha is the fact that Lasad Lavai, out of all mitzvahs of the Torah, which is the mitzvah that Hashem is going to add something new to the mitzvah that we don't have and never had with Manazah, the mitzvah of Arei Miklat, which is also a very interesting thing. Arei Miklat are the cities designated for someone that killed b'sheigeg. So you would think, Lasad Lavai, this is the mitzvah chosen to add something more to the mitzvah. You would think that such kind of occurrences of someone killing b'sheigeg should be much less Lasad Lavai. The third point we discussed in the Sikha is the fact that Lasad Lavai, all the halachas, many different things that were arguments between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel will change. And today we paskin like Beis Hillel, besides very few exceptions. Lasad Lavai, we're going to paskin like Beis Shammai. Now, seemingly Beis Shammai is the one that's more stringent, more precautious, that he's afraid you may come to be over on something, you may come to not listen to Hashem, so he puts up all kinds of barriers and all kinds of precautions. Lasad Lavai, is any of that necessary? Why Lasad Lavai will be passing like Beis Shammai? In the Sikha, the Rebbe explained all of this. But here in the last place of the Sikha, the Rebbe comes back to explain these points with a little bit of a deeper approach. Let's see what the Rebbe says. Sif Tazayin. Yes, second column on page 580. We can add and explain everything we discussed till here. So the first item is the fact that the mitzvah chosen to add something more is the mitzvah of adding 3 Arei Miklat when Moshiach comes. And then the second item is halacha Beis Shammai. The fact that when Moshiach comes, we paskin like Beis Shammai. And the third is v'heter shchita sheirabar. The heter for the way the sheirabar will be shechted with the fins of the Levyasan. So let's explain all this ba'omek yaser. There's a deeper point there to explain what this is all about.
This third point is problematic?
The what?
Yeah.
I mean, all of these things are problematic, but the Rebbe explained it already.
Yeah.
The Rebbe explained everything already, but the Rebbe is going to add another dimension to all this. So with the introduction of something that was explained elsewhere, this is actually something that the Rebbe explained in this year, in this Tafshin on Aleph, in Parshas Yisrei. The Rebbe speaks about this pariches. B'nigreya l'klolos ha'inyan the mitzvahs loises she'iyur gam b'maisa Mashiach. So there's a question b'chlal that you can ask regarding all mitzvahs loises, where the Eibishter says that there are things that you have to stay away from. What's the simple pshat of a mitzvahs loises? The way the Alter Rebbe explains it in Tanya, that you have 2 levels of klippa in the world. Right? You have klippas noiga, which is a level of klippa which still remains in something which is rishus, meaning it could be elevated or it could go down. Depends if you use it for the right purpose or it's used for the wrong purpose. That's klippas noiga. What is mitzvahs loisesa? All the different things in the world that are gimel klippas atmeis. So the Alter Rebbe explains the reason why it becomes asur is because the word asur means that it's tied, it's bound, it's held down by the powers of the chitzanim that are holding it down. It can't be elevated. So therefore, that's the issur. You have to stay away from things that cannot be elevated and connected to Hashem. That's the concept. So now the question is, how and why will these mitzvahs of loisasa apply Lasad Lavai? K'she'ikra aveda tiyeh b'asei tayv. Lasad Lavai, there will be no evil in the world anymore. We don't have to deal with all the kinds of things. Lasad Lavai, what will be our aveda then? Only adding good, more climbing higher and higher and serving Hashem. That's it. Just like once the neshama is in Gan Eden, and the neshama is in Gan Eden, doesn't have to deal with any challenges, with any klippa. The neshama just goes higher and higher constantly. Even more so, Lasad Lavai. After the whole entire world comes to its perfection and everything is just about a seitayv. So you would think that Lasad Lavai, the 365 mitzvahs loisasa should all be batal. They don't serve any purpose anymore. So it's a question. So the answer that Rebbe explains in another place is Sha'oz yeh kiyuman b'sharshan. Then the mitzvahs loisese, the point of their fulfillment is completely different. It's the shoydish of where mitzvahs loisese come from. L'mayla shen gvuris k'doishes. They are very holy levels of gvuris that gvuris shalamayla machasadim. The source of gvura is higher than chesed. Yeah, the Rebbe brings the source of this from the Alter Rebbe in Likutei Torah, Parshas Pekudei. Okay, so first we'll read inside what it says there, and I'll try to explain a little bit the point of what the Rebbe is saying. So Kiyudua, it's known regarding the inyan of mitzvahs loisese. Shahashayrish, the mitzvahs loisese, the source of the mitzvahs loisese, l'mayla ma'ashayrish the mitzvahs aseh. It's higher than the mitzvahs aseh. The Alter Rebbe there says, Al derech b'dugmas hamayla da asagas hashlila legavi asagas hachiyav. It's similar to the idea that there are certain things about the greatness of Hashem that we could understand directly. We could describe and define what these levels of greatness of Hashem is, and the Chiyuv means positively, to understand directly and positively what it is. That's one level of comprehension. But then you have Asagas HaShlila, when you can't define what it is, but you could only define what it's not. Okay, Shalachain, therefore, kiyuman einam b'ayfin shel chiyuv. The way you fulfill a mitzvah is not in the positive kum v'asei, by getting up and doing something active. Ela b'ayfin shel shlila. The mitzvah is fulfilled by refraining, shev va'al taisa, by sitting and refraining from doing something which is against Hashem's will. This is the point that the Alter Rebbe speaks about in Likutei Torah. Okay, it's very bekitzer over here. In the Sikha of Parshas Yisrei, the Rebbe elaborates more on this point. And there the Rebbe explains as follows, that when you look at mitzvahs loisese, the way it is bepashtos in this world, so the inyan of mitzvahs loisese is like I explained before, there are powers of evil in the world that are threatening to take over a yid's life. If you allow those powers of evil into your life, they're going to disconnect you from Hashem. So the Eibusha gives you the mitzvahs and the Torah that give you the guidelines, how to stay away those powers of evil that can pull you and drag you down and disconnect you. But that's the way mitzvahs loisese applies here in this world, when there are powers of evil that still exist in the world, and therefore the Eibusha gives you the guidance of how to stay away from them.
What's a simple example of that?
Any mitzvahs loisese, kashrus, not to eat things that are not kosher.
Meaning
So they have an etchayis of klippah that is a koyach that rebels against Hashem. It's a koyach that drags a person down. If a person eats non-kosher food, so that food is inside his body, and it's energy and chayis that disconnects him from Hashem. Okay, many other examples, right? All the mitzvahs loisese. But in its shaydish, the Alter Rebbe says mitzvahs loisese are actually higher. And the pshat is, when you do a mitzvah saseh, what that means is that there's a certain keli that you do something. There's something specific. You take tefillin, you take the lulav, you take whatever chayfetz it is, and you're drawing down Hashem into this chayfetz, into this place, or into this action. What does that mean? It's a level of godliness that could be expressed somehow. It could be expressed in a specific keli. You can create a keli that will contain and draw down this samshach of godliness. That means it's a level of godliness that to one degree or another relates to the existence of the world. And therefore, the way we connect to it is in an active and positive way, because it's a level that we can experience. You can connect to it by doing something, by getting personally involved, by putting on the tefillin, by saying Shema, whatever else it is. You draw down this level of godliness that connects to your mitzias, connects to the mitzias of the chayfetz that you use in the mitzvah. That's a mitzvah saseh. Mitzvah loisese, though, is a completely different thing. For mitzvah loisese, that's a level of godliness which can't be expressed in anything or through anything. The truth of the essence of Hashem cannot be contained anywhere. What is when the truth of the essence of Hashem is revealed? What happens? It just negates anything else that's not it. Automatically, when the truth, ultimate truth of the Eibusha is revealed in the world, so then nothing is a keli for it, and anything that's not part of the Eibusha just gets completely eradicated, or completely worthless, completely insignificant. Well, you have a level of revelation of Hashem, which to one degree or another is already mitzumtzum, and it relates to the existence of the world. So when that Hamshacha comes into the world, it's not mevatel the existence of the world. It can be contained in one way or another through different mitzvahs. When you have the source of the revelation, the Eibusha himself that comes into the world, so then there's nothing that it can't be expressed in any way. Adarab, it's just mevatel everything. That's the real concept of a mitzvah loisasa. So therefore, when Mashiach comes, instead of looking at a loisasa as something which is there to help you stay away from something which is negative, adarabba, then a mitzvah loisasa will be an expression of the true revelation of Einod Mulvadai. When you have the ultimate revelation of Einod Mulvadai, so then automatically things that are against the Ratzon of Hashem are completely nullified, or completely eradicated. That's what Loisasa describes. Loisasa describes my connection to Hashem is so powerful that I can't contain it, I can't comprehend it. Adarabba, it just creates a tremendous bittul, which is the shevel al tasa, just to sit and just not do anything because you become completely bottled. The Rebbe says a similar word when you get to Rosh Hashanah. When Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, we don't blow shofar. Right? So there's a hasberim that Chassidus give for this, that when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, Shabbos has the power to draw down the same revelation that shofar does. But in one time when the Rebbe spoke about this, the Rebbe said that there's a deeper point. Usually when we blow shofar, you're taking the shofar, you're blowing the shofar, you're expressing your dedication to Hashem. When you blow shofar, you're coronating Hashem as a king. There's some kind of action that you're doing to express the fact, the acceptance of Hashem as a king. What's deeper than that? When it falls out on a Shabbos, Shabbos is a holier Rosh Hashanah. It's not less holy. When Shabbos falls out on Rosh Hashanah, you're not missing a mitzvah. Adarab, it's deeper. By refraining from blowing shofar, you're accepting Hashem through absolute bittul. Not by an action that you do, not by blowing a shofar, expressing that I can experience the kingdom of Hashem in my life. Adarabba, the Eibush is so great, you can't experience anything. The Eibush just eradicates, you become absorbed in the Eibush, completely bottled. There's no action to be done at all. It's actually a deeper acceptance of Hashem's kingdom, not less. Al derech zeh, Lasad Lavi, we know Lasad Lavi is going to be Yom Shekulei Shabbos Menucha L'Chai Elamim. So Lasad Lavi Adarabba, not only will there also be Loisesa then, but Lasad Lavi will realize the shaydish of Loisesa. What are they really about? Loisesa reveals the true essence of Hashem, where everything becomes completely bottled. Okay, let's continue inside.
Why is anything a contradiction then?
No, it's not. It's not. The point is not contradiction. Adarabba. When the Eibishter is Nizgala, it's not that the Eibishter has to be mevatel something which is a contradiction. When the emes of the Eibishter is Nizgala, so that it's Megala the truth that there's nothing that's outside of him. There's nothing that's so any Indian in the world which is not him is automatically out.
It's not necessary.
Again,
It's not necessary. Or it's...
I mean, over there in the Sikha in Tafshin Aleph, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but over there in the Sikha in Parshas Yisrei, Tafshin Aleph, the Rebbe asks, okay, so if loss of love, it's going to be as man where the truth of the Eibush is revealed. So the Eibush, it's shlila. Shlila means it just negates, it eradicates everything. So why do we have these specific 365 mitzvahs loisesa to negate this and that and so on? It's not any more specific things that are sort of like you're saying a threat to the Eibush's existence. Adarab, it just negates everything. Right? So the Rebbe asks that question over here. Yeah, like what? I mean, in a way, here the Rebbe is saying mitzvahs loisasa express the point that when you're dealing with the essence of Hashem, so then it's mevatel everything, right? But at the same time, though, you have 365 loisasa that pertain to particular things, particular items, particular areas in the world. So why are they still something that's relevant? Lasad love it. Yes, the Rebbe asks that question. The Rebbe gives there an answer. The answer the Rebbe gives is it's hard to understand this, but I'll tell you the example that the Rebbe gives. The Rebbe gives the example from Amalek. Mitzvah to eradicate Amalek. Is that considered to be an everlasting mitzvah?
Yes.
So in every generation, we have the mitzvah to get rid of Amalek. Now you can ask, first of all, the time period that we're living in today. We don't know who Amalek is, and we don't have the ability to get rid of Amalek.
Ruchnis.
Okay, true. Then the Amalek that's inside of us. Okay, correct. But the Amalek, Begashmius, is someone we can't identify. And you only could kill Amalek when you have a melech, a real melech. And we don't have that today either, in the real sense of a melech. Another point that Rebbe says, when Moshiach comes, and then the Eibusha says, Mochai Emche, I will eradicate Amalek completely. So then the mitzvah to eradicate Amalek will also be over and gone, and done with. So seemingly, the whole mitzvah of getting rid of Amalek is not something which is nitzchi, not something which is in every time period.
There's a mitzvah to eradicate Amalek,
because we're going to encounter Amalek B'Yetzias Mitzrayim. So, right?
We
so,
did encounter Amalek when we.
But from every Meitzar that we break through on a personal level, that new Geula seems like Golas.
All true.
So there's a new Amalek.
No, Anachanavi, absolutely true. But I'm talking about the Gashmi is the Gamalek.
Saying physically find these people who are living
correct.
in Gaza.
Single them out.
Easy.
This thing also, the Abish was going to eradicate.
Right.
So I mean that it's going to be done
The
properly.
plan so the Rebbe over there brings from the Pirushim from the Rambam Sefer HaMitzvahs. The Rambam says that there are certain mitzvahs that begashmius you don't have the ability to fulfill, but it doesn't mean that the mitzvah is not an everlasting mitzvah. There are certain mitzvahs in the Torah that we know that the Eibishter gave them just for a specific time period. For example, certain details about how to build a Mishkan are for that time period. When you even were in the Midbar, the way that the mitzvahs that the Levium had to carry around the Midbar, it was a mitzvah for that time. Or for example, the mitzvah that Moshe Rabbeinu got from the Eibishter to count the Yidden, it's a mitzvah for that time period to count the Yidden. There's nothing everlasting about it, and it's not counted in the Taryag mitzvahs. The mitzvah to eradicate Amalek is a mitzvah in every time period. True, in the reality of the world that we live in, it's not always applicable, it's not always possible to fulfill, but there's nothing inherently in the mitzvah that makes it dependent on a time period. And the mitzvah inherently is a mitzvah to eradicate any time there will be this nation of Amalek or any descendant of a nation of Amalek existing in the world, you have a mitzvah to get rid of him. It's not a time frame. It's not connected to any time. But Payal Mamish, there will come a time where Amalek will be completely eradicated, and therefore we won't have an actual application of the mitzvah, but the mitzvah itself remains everlasting. So the Rebbe says it's similar with mitzvahs loisesa. The Eibishter gives the mitzvahs loisesa, and really lasad lavai, the mitzvahs loisesa will take on a completely new meaning. The mitzvahs loisesa will not be the way it is today, that there's forces of evil in the world that we have to stay away from. Lasad lavai, mitzvahs loisesa will be about connecting to the Eibishter on a deeper level where it's by bittul, by refraining of acting. But nevertheless, the design of the mitzvahs loisesa remain as is, because that koyach of tumah in the world that was, if it were theoretically existing, you would have to get rid of it. And the way to get rid of it is by staying away from it. So the same design as it remained before remains after also. But really, the shaydish of what the mitzvahs loisesa are about is going to be revealed lasad lavai. That's basically the way the Rebbe explains it.
Okay, getting back to that point you said before, the meaning of Hasagas Hashlila.
Sagas Hashlila, yeah.
Hasagas Achil. So
Yeah.
the Hasagas Hashlila said that what that has to do what God is not,
Correct.
as opposed to
Hasagas
what
Achil.
God is.
Correct.
It's just the opposite. We don't know what God is. We know what He's not.
Okay.
That's how we come to a definition.
There's two different levels of godliness. There are certain levels of
I'm
godliness.
saying now we only know what God isn't.
Well, look, you learn in Tanya, you learn in Chassidus about Esesphiris, and there are certain things, certain descriptions, certain levels of godliness that we're able to connect to on a positive level, on a direct level, that we're able to take in. Okay, that's a level of godliness which is mitzumtzum, which is limited, and comes down. That's a sagas achiyah. A sagas hashlila is when the ultimate truth of the Eibush is revealed. So then it's shaylel. It just negates everything. There's no way. Adarabah. It just is. There's no comprehension. Adarabah. It just is mevatel everything. That's the shaydish of mitzvahs loisesa. Correct. I mean, the Rebbe says it says this in here. This part that the Rebbe says regarding the gvurais being at a higher shaydish from the chasadim. So when you look at gvuras, what's gvuras? Let's translate gvuras as discipline. There's kindness and there's discipline, right? So let's say a father that expresses kindness to a child. So that's a very deep connection and a love that he's expressing to a child. But then sometimes a father has to discipline. And discipline is something that doesn't openly express the connection that the father has to the child. But at the same time, the fact that he's disciplining externally, it seems like that it's withholding a certain relationship. But the MS, the discipline comes from a deeper place. Because Adarabah, he loves his child so much that he looks out for his well-being and he even disciplines him. When a father has to discipline a child, so he's really doing something which is the opposite of the nature of a father. A father only wants to express goodness and love. The fact that he has to discipline, it's hepech tivai. Why is the father ready to do that? Because there's an essential connection, there's a deeper connection. So therefore, Gvuras really expresses something more powerful. Right? So you can see that even in the context of Chasadim and Gvuras. That's the same thing regarding mitzvahs leisasa. This is the real deeper love of the Eibishter for Yidden. When the Eibishter tells Yidden, stay away from these things that are not good for you, it's really coming from a deeper place. The Eibishter is expressing his connection that Yidden are unique, Yidden are special. Stop the nations of the world, eat what you want, drink what you want, go where you want, do what you want, because but a yid is unique. A yid is holy, and the deeper connection of a yid is not just the fact that we have beautiful mitzvahs that we could do, but adarabah, the things that we have to stay away from shows us the real kedusha and the separation of yidden and the real love that the Eibishter has for us.
But to a degree, the 6 Nochad laws that also make the non-Jewish people somewhat listening to Hashem.
Correct, and they also can fulfill their purpose, but it's on a different level. On a different level.
Right.
On a different level. The Sheva Mitzvah Menayach. Okay, let's chaparayim one more paragraph here. Huh?
We love them.
We help them reveal their purpose of creation. Okay, Val Pizayesh Levaye Gam Pluktes Beshamai Besilul B'Sheirish Anyanim. So this explains all the arguments between Beshamai and Besilul as it is in the source. Lamaila. Beshamai Shesheirish Shmosam Mebchinas HaGvurais. Beshamai comes from Gvurais, as the Rebbe brought earlier in the Sicha. Gvurais K'daishais Shalamaila Machsadim. So really the source of Beshamai is holy Gvurais, which is really higher than Chsadim. So therefore, Ro in Yonim Elu B'Sharsham. So Beshamai always looks at things the way they are in their source. B'Koyach. This is another point that the Rebbe brought in the Sicha, if you remember. Beshamai always looks at the thing the way they are in their potential state. Right? What was the example? Regarding Chanukah, when it comes to the first day of Chanukah, Beshamai says, light 8 candles because we have 8 days of Chanukah that are potentially coming in. Right? So Beshamai always looks at the B'Koyach of everything. There's a lot of examples of it. Actually, the Shchai Shvat. Shchai Shvat is one of these inyanim of Beshamai, the B'Koyach. Right? According to Beshamai, when's Rosh Hashanah Li'Ilanis? Besilul says Chamishasa B'Shvat. And Beshamai says Rosh Shvat. What's the machlokes? In the trees in Eretz Yisrael, Shvat, or in Chamishasa B'Shvat, there's the sap inside the tree that comes up, and therefore there's some life of the new season in the tree that starts again. So in Chamishasa B'Shvat, it's already halfway into the month, closer to the spring and to the summer. So the life in the tree is actually there. Mashen Kain, Shchai Shvat, it's only there b'koyach. There's a potential, a beginning and a potential of this new life of the tree for the new season's beginning. Beshamai says that's when the new season for the new year begins for the trees. And this is Negei Lahalacha, but Negei to Maisris, well, how you divide 1 year from the next. You can't give Maiser from the trees, from the fruits of 1 year to the fruits of the previous year. So Beshamai says you go by the potential, which is tonight, Rosh Shvat, when the Rosh Hashanah Li'Ilanis begins. That's Beshamai's approach. So Beshamai is always seeing things from a higher source, from the holy Gvurais she'einam misgalim, that are not expressed and revealed in this world. When this level of revelation comes down to the world, it negates your understanding. You could define it by what it's not. You can't define it by what it is. This is much higher than anything that you can understand and comprehend in a positive sense. And this is really what the Gemara means when it says about Bishamai mechaded ditvei. The Bishamai was sharper. This is a unique pshat. I mean, you learn the simple pshat of the Gemara. Mechaded ditvei means the Bishamai was just smarter. They were their intellect, their level of intellect was deeper. That's not what it means. Beshamai, Besilul, they were both very smart. The difference is in the Sheirish of Gvurais, the Beshamai looked at the potential and things on a sharper and deeper place. That's B'chad Ditvei.
It says that Allah Kibbeis Hillah, Peshem Aluvim.
Right. That they have more bittul.
Because of the bittul, they're Kaleo Asaida.
Correct, true. So
correct.
And over here the Rebbe is saying that Adarabah, Mechad Ditvei is actually, it comes out from what the Rebbe is saying here, that Mechad Ditvei, Chayre, expresses an even deeper bittul. It expresses a bittul that goes straight to the source. Not sure what the pshat is, but usually the Rebbe always says, Fakat. Beis were more humble, more bitteldik. Bishamai were sharper. They were more opinionated, so to speak, and sharper and deeper. But here the Rebbe says, no. Beis Shammai is the one that sharp means they went straight to the source, not related to any level of godliness that comes down. Shev al Taisa. So therefore, Beis Shammai focuses on Beis Shammai Oystrim. Beis Shammai the ones that say, refrain, hold back, stop. You want to express true godliness? How do you express true godliness? Not by experiencing and doing something. Adarabah, true godliness is expressed by just refraining of action. That's the real revelation of godliness. Well, Beis Hillel, on the other hand, Shesherish Masam, Mibchinas, Achasadim, the source of their Shat Neshama comes from Chasadim, Ro, in Yonim Melech, Ifishem, Begali, Bepoil. So they see the way things are expressed out of its source, Bepoil, the way it comes down. That's why Beis Hillel always looks at the Bepoil. How does it apply in actuality and our reality? In Yonim Shanim Shachim, Mizgalim, the levels of godliness that are drawn down and are revealed, the way we can understand and comprehend this in a positive sense, experience godliness through an action. Kumbase. So therefore, Beis Hillel matirim, and therefore Beis Hillel are the ones that are always matir. Let's just finish off with Order 145. And the Rebbe, as always, everything has to be very meduyik, everything down to the last point. And here it's the names. Order 145. See it in the bottom of the page? This is hinted in their names. Beis Shammai. What does the word Beis Shammai mean? Hashomer Chaysav, a person that examines every step he takes. Okay, which means lishkal v'ledaktik, to weigh and to be precise. Gvuris comes out by being critical, by being very, very specific. In other words, you're not ready to take the revelation on it. What?
For the sake of truth.
Correct. For the sake when you want to get the real accurate truth of something, so you're very medactic. Sometimes when a person is very medactic, so sometimes you have a person that's like very machmer in a mitzvah, it could come out in a very, very external way. Adarabah. He's not really connecting to the content of the mitzvah, to the truth of the mitzvah. He's just like mahader and medactic and this and that. That's chetzoni. That's chetzoni is the gechumras. That's not the real. The real medactic is adarabah. You're so connected to the will of Hashem.
Can you translate some of the things you just said in quick succession that I didn't understand?
Okay.
A lesson for yourself.
Yeah, I was just trying to say. Sometimes you see how people are very particular about doing mitzvahs, and it's not necessarily coming from a healthy place. It's just coming from a place of a person that's like very nervous, and he knows he has to do a mitzvah, and he has an obligation. So people, when they have obligations, they get very nervous about making sure that they fulfill that obligation. What is he nervous about? He's nervous about Hashem's will being fulfilled, or he's nervous about himself missing what he needs to do. So if a person is being stringent about and particular about doing a mitzvah because he's concerned about himself, that's not what the Rebbe is talking about here when the Rebbe speaks about Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai was so focused on getting the exact, precise will of Hashem done that they were so careful. I want to get it exactly, accurately right. That's why they were so particular, not because they were nervous about themselves. Adarabah, on the contrary, they wanted to get the mitzvah right in the source. That's Beis Shammai. So this is the level of Gvura Yisrael Machasadim. Beis Hillel, on the other hand, who is Beis Hillel? Bialu Neirai.
What does it do with their names? Shammai.
Sham. When a person estimates, the word sham means that a person that estimates.
Hasam. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, not Shuma.
Shuma. Sham Chaysav. Okay. Beis Hillel, which is Bialu Neirai, also taken from a pasuk, which means a light, a candle that shines. Beis Hillel is connecting to the level of the mitzvah that comes out of the source, that shines and comes down into this world. So therefore, Beis Hillel takes it the way we could apply it in our lives to ourselves, not being so precise and being medactic in the source of the way things are.
Not the behind-the-scenes guy.
Okay, put it that way. Okay, gotta hit the off button over there if you know how to do it.
We're not reaching the end of the season.
Not tonight. We're gonna have to make the siyum next week. Mitzvah Shem.
All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I have a general question about Beis Shammai Hillel. Beis Shammai looks at things in its source in terms